So I've got speaking parts for you this time, and in fact for anybody else. You're going to be the good people of Konigsberg, and I'm going to come in front of you twice. And the first I'm going to say, and people said, and I want you to say, have you thought that has never been thunk before? You ready? And the people of Konigsberg said, have you thought that has never been thunk before? And the second time I do it, it's a bit different this time. Have you plundered that ponder that's never been plumbed? So, and the people of Konigsberg said, have you plundered that ponder that's never been plumbed? Right. This is loosely based on Nietzsche. This is from Beyond Good and Evil. It is aphorism 11. It's one of his major attacks on another philosopher called Immanuel Kant. How loud am I with this? Is it easily, or am I okay? Good. There was once a man who everyone knew was good. Well, he always got up at 5 o'clock in the morning. He refused to wear elastic, designing himself a pair of suspenders made of clockwork. More than that, he always went for a walk at exactly the same time every day, 2:30 if you're counting. And the people of the city in which he lived, the people of Konigsberg, used to wonder how you could have time at all without Immanuel Kant to set your clocks by. More than that, he wrote great books. He wrote them on geology, geometry, geomancy, geography, astrology, astronomy, astrophysics, physics, metaphysics, health and safety, health and harmony. And he read great books too. It was no surprise then one day when he went into his closet, clutching in his sweaty hand a book by an eminent Scotsman. But people muttered, because in those days everyone knew that all books by Scotsmen were either full of bankrupt theology, threadbare morality, grasping economics, or concepts of brilliant, corrosive nature. And this book was all three. And so it was. Early one morning, Pepe, his manservant, heard it, a loud shout, in which agony, ecstasy, elation and frustration were all mingled. And Pepe ran into his closet and said, "Master, are you all right?" And Immanuel Kant said, "It is this book. It has just proved to me that God does not exist." And Pepe said, "Oh, I wish you hadn't told me that. I'll have to wash out my ears now." "Don't worry, Pepe. It's also proved to me something else. It's proved to me that you don't exist either. But don't worry." "That's a bit personal, isn't it? What did I ever done to Mr. You?" "Don't worry, nobody will notice as long as you keep on making the tea. There is something much worse than that. This book has proved to me I do not exist. And I have to confess that's a huge wrench." "What a horrible book! You, me and God, and the best one you've done wrong!" "Worse than that. Much worse. This book has proved to me that philosophy doesn't exist, and that means I'm out of a job." "What are you going to do, Master?" said Pepe. "I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay in my closet and I'm going to think. I'm going to think the thought that has never been thought before. I'm going to think the thought that answers this man's thinking." And that was what Immanuel Kant did. He sat in his closet and thought. And everybody wondered in Konigsberg what happened to him. And when they asked Pepe, Pepe said, "Oh, he's thinking a thought that's not been thought before. The thought that's the hardest of all thoughts to think." And so everyone was very impressed. And they couldn't wait to hear what the thought was, the thought that had never been thought before. Well, 5 o'clock one morning, Kant rang all the bells in the city, and everybody went down to the square. And all the people of Konigsberg came up to Kant and said, "Have you done it? Have you thought the thought that's never been thought before?" And Immanuel Kant said, "Yes, I have. I have thought that thought. I have thought a thought that has never been thought before. I have thought the thought that is the hardest of all thoughts to think, the thought that explains all thinking. This is how we all think. We all think by means of thought." Except, of course, he called it a categorical, he called it a priori synthetic truth, which sounded so much cleverer. Well, everybody gave him a great big round of applause, but then one bright spark said, "Oh, well, you've explained thought very well, and I feel much wiser. But why should I be moral? Why can't I just hit this person?" And he turned around and hit his neighbour. And his neighbour hit him back, and soon there was a great big fight in Konigsberg. And Kant went back up to his closet to think again. And he pondered. And he pondered and he pondered and he pondered. He pondered over morality. And at last, all through Konigsberg, all the clocks stopped working because they hadn't got Immanuel Kant to help them, and you could only hear the occasional "ow!" as somebody hit somebody. This went on for months before once again they were summoned at 5 o'clock in the morning, and once again there was Kant, and they came to Kant and they said, "Have you done it? Have you plundered the ponder that's never been plumbed
before.
Yes, I have. I've done more than that. I've gone into that ponder. I've gone into that deep pond. I know the secret of morality. We have morality by means of morals. Except, of course, he called it a categorical imperative, which sounded so much cleverer. And everybody gave him a great big round of applause, and Kant offered then and there to explain art. But they said no, 2 critiques was quite enough, and they weren't funding arts anymore, so please go back to his closet. That's what Kant did. But you know, all the young men throughout Germany, they all heard of Kant and his exploits. They all entered into the beer garden of their own and came back with new ideas, new faculties. We had a faculty for will, a faculty for good, a faculty for evil, a faculty to be a human, just in case you weren't. And Germany entered a springtime of philosophy that lasted all the time until the wild pipes of romanticism led us astray. But in all this tumult of thought, everyone forgot to ask the simple question, which is surely not, how are a priori scientific truths possible? That is, to you and me, how is it possible to know something has happened before it's occurred? But rather, what right do we have to such knowledge? And who but a liar, or a philosopher, or I suppose a politician would want it?